Lovely people, and thanks for dropping by here on a Monday night to hang out with us for the OH Report video podcast. Got a brand new, hot and fresh episode ready to serve up for you right here and now. I am Brian Skoronsky, and just because I have to work on Labor Day doesn't mean that you have to. Kick back, relax, enjoy your evening, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of cool stuff. And by we, I mean me and my compadre, Mr. Travis Big League Berardi, hanging out tonight. Laboring a little bit here on Labor Day, but it's for a great cause and big week here. College football just kicked off. We got the NFL, so you're all geared up in your Steelers.
It's the NFL week, yes. College football.
You're probably making that same face next Monday too after NFL. Maybe.
I don't know. What's Kirk Cousins gonna do? I don't know. New place. Steelers defense, don't know about our offense, things like that. Just questions the Browns fans ask before the season starts too. A lot of question marks.
We can't help it.
It's a great thing though.
But in Tomlin,
we're letting sports. We're letting sports ruin our lives for the next 4 months.
No,
let's go.
Not going to be that. I do have a coloring book at home that's called "Why Is Daddy Sad on Sunday?" So at least my kids, if they ask why I'm frowning, I can just turn over the book. All right, coming up on tonight's show, we are going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Our writer here from the Clee Bus, Luke Wickiser, is going to join the show here in about a half hour. Travis, also in a fantasy football league, they just had their 20th season of drafts. The same dudes all in the same league. Travis just got back winding down some country roads to get here and join us here tonight. Right. We got the top plays of the week from high school football week 2, as well as your Friday night nominees. So you can get in your votes. They count for 2 points here tonight, and perhaps a new weekly segment on tap. We will find out. We've got the MOAC report coming up tonight. We're going to look at 4 different conference standings within the MOAC. We're going to talk about boys and girls soccer. We got volleyball action and, of course, football. So Travis and I will dissect each of those. We'll tell you who some of the top performers are, the upcoming matchups, the standings, everything that you need to know about the MOAC. But we're going to begin the show, Travis, with a high school football coach who has never not made the playoffs since he took over at his alma mater, and he's been there for 7 seasons now. His team currently undefeated.
Looking good, too.
2-0.
Looking really good, too.
Looking fantastic. And they did something that not very many teams have done here over the last several seasons, and that's go on the road at Bob Wine Field and walk out of there with a convincing victory. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show, Mr. Trevor Klein.
Hey, guys.
Trevor!
What's up, Coach?
Not a whole lot. How about you guys?
I'm having a good
dream.
day so far. You
yeah.
enjoying yourself, Trav?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
I
the
am.
matter,
I'm
Dan?
actually, my buddies and I are in the middle of a fantasy draft that I went on auto pick for a little bit until I'm done with this interview.
Oh, did you get anybody good with that first pick?
Not who I wanted to, but I ended up getting a couple receivers early on. So they should be good.
I'm usually a running back guy with my first pick. If I can, they're so scarce to get them, Coach. But as long as you got a couple of studs at wideout, that's all that really matters. So
Yeah, we'll see how the season goes.
yeah, I know. Obviously, you got a couple of studs on your team at wideout this year. So we'll talk about them here in a second. But Labor Day. So as an educator, of course, you get the day off. You don't probably have to go into the building. But as a football coach, how much time, energy, and effort we're actually putting in to make sure that the good times keep on flowing out there in Dromesville?
Yeah, so we had practice from 9 to 11 this morning, and then I'm also working on drawing up Loudonville's offensive plays. So when we get to our defensive practice tomorrow, our scout team has those to look at and run through. So I had the day off, but I still stayed busy with football.
You don't look old enough, Coach, to be in your 7th season already on the sideline at your alma mater. How did you convince the school board way back when to hire a dude, fresh face, straight out of college, to be their head football coach? How'd that even work out?
So it was always a goal of mine to come back and teach at Hillsdale and also coach at Hillsdale too. Well, Coach Williams, who was my head coach in school, it was sort of the plan of when he was ready to step down, I was going to take over, and the plan wasn't for it to happen until like a year or two ago, but his wife ended up getting sick and had got sick, and he had to step down, and then that's when I took over, and he stayed on for a few years, and then the last 2 years he took off, and then actually came back this year. So that's sort of how it worked. Like the school knew that the plan was for him to eventually hand it over to me. It just happened a little bit sooner than what we all were expecting. But it's been great because the vast majority of our assistant coaches were either coaches when I was in school or played with me in school. So it's been cool having all those guys as part of the success.
Yeah, unquestionably, it's been a good move so far for Jody Long in the school to take a chance on you. I heard a story from almost 40 years ago. A guy here in our own backyard of Richland County, Mr. Joe Baylog, got handed the keys to the kingdom for Ontario's basketball program when he was just 23, right around the age when you got your job. Worked out pretty good for him. He's in the Hall of Fame now, Coach. So it feels like you're kind of trending in that direction. But let's just start about this 2-0 start, and specifically the Lucas win. I was there. I saw it. I was impressed. This is a team that's not easy to prepare for. They run that double wing, the wing tee that you probably only see once a year, if that, when you're playing against the Cubs. So you lose to them the first couple of times that you play against them in the regular season. Now you've evened the score. You've beat them the last 2 times during the regular campaign. How big of a challenge, though, is it to get ready for their offense? And do you feel like you're more prepared for them now since it's 4 years? You even saw them in the playoffs last season, and you've been around Lucas football.
Yeah, it's always difficult preparing for them, not because they run a complicated offense. It's just if you're not disciplined against their offense, they'll just take advantage of the mistakes you make on the defensive side of the ball. So our players, really each time, except for a few plays in the playoff game last year, our guys have always done a pretty good job against their offense, but we've always had a hard time scoring against their defense since they're so fundamental and they tackle so well. Except for this last game here, our athletes were able to get out in space, and they had a hard time defending them. But they're always difficult. You know that they're always going to be prepared. They're going to be physical, and we know that we have to match that physicality. But it's became a rivalry between us two, and it's always a great game to get to play against them since we're a good football program, and obviously they are too.
Your sophomore quarterback's been awesome so far. Kel Lewis, 8 tutties, no picks so far through a couple of weeks. He's got a good arm. I like the pocket awareness. He seems like all of his teammates, even though he's a young guy, they're buying in. They're looking at him as a leader right now, Coach. Did you expect this type of production from him early on in the season? Or are you a little bit surprised that he's come out of the gates, he's making throws like you just saw right there, backed up in his own end zone, 3rd down and long, and he throws strikes and moving the offense? I got to say, he's been the biggest surprise in our eyes here at the OH Report, what he's done so far 2 weeks into the year.
Yeah, we knew as a coaching staff he was going to be a great quarterback for us ever since he started playing youth football for us and then playing junior high. The thing that impresses me most about Kale is just his preparation each week. I never have to worry about him not watching film. He's always making sure that he's putting in plenty of time watching the film, so when he gets to Friday night, he's prepared and ready to break down their defense. And at the high school level, really at any level, if your quarterback's watching film and prepare for that week, they're going to have success, especially if they have the talent to do so. And that's been the thing that's been the neatest thing for him, is just how prepared he is. I would be lying to you if I thought he wouldn't have an interception yet. Just being a young quarterback, usually there's mistakes, but so far he's played extremely well. And I think that's just credit to how hard he's worked and how hard he prepares each week to get ready to go.
And not only is he, as a young player, filling in for Jack Fickus, who had a great career at Hillsdale, you had multiple positions that you needed to replace, and it seems like these players have been just on it since the summer. Hayden McFadden averaging 24.5 yards per reception. Holland Young, 22 yards per reception. Brock Bauer, 25. Owen Sloan running the ball, 9.68 yards per rush. It just seems like you guys, you filled in, not rebuilt this year, but retooled, and you guys are already firing on all cylinders. Is this something that you were expecting to happen right off the bat? Or was this something that you thought maybe it was going to take a couple of games until you guys were firing on all cylinders?
We expected it for our offense to be very good this year. It's credit to the players of just them buying into being team first players. They don't care who gets the credit. They know their opportunity will come. It might be one game, one player lights it up on the stat sheet, and then another game it's another player. But they just do a good job of accepting their role and playing well. And it's really been cool for the receivers because, like Holland Young, he was a kid that played JV last year, and he did exactly what you should do at the JV level of show up each Saturday and work as hard as you possibly can and find a way to impress the coaches. And that's exactly what he did. And then when he got his opportunity this year, he's hit the ground running and hasn't looked back. And Hayden McFadden had a very good year for us at the varsity level last year. And then Owen Sloan has been a varsity kid since day one for us at Hillsdale.
And they're going to get a taste of the rivalry. I mean, Loudonville, they may have been down the last couple of years, but when you play a game like this, you got to throw the records out. What are you going to do? I know you said you're starting to put offensive plays in, look at their offensive plays, but what do you need to do to keep these newer players that haven't been a part of this rivalry yet, just to get them focused, say, hey, we're 2-0, but that doesn't matter when you go into Loudonville?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, this is a rivalry game for us. It's been since the two programs started playing. And like you said, it doesn't matter what the record is. If people remember, a couple years ago, we went down to Loudonville and they embarrassed us down there and shut us out. So we've been talking to players about that. Can't overlook anyone. And the biggest thing I want to see from our players this year is I don't care who our opponent is each Friday. I want to see us playing to our potential. And I felt the first 2 weeks they've done a great job of that, and I'm expecting the same thing this week. And with the preparation that they've been doing and how they've been looking for ways to get better each day of practice, I feel that we're going to be able to capitalize on that of playing to our potential each week. And like I said, it's a big rivalry game. I know it's one of those games, if they beat us, that will make their whole season. And same thing for us. I mean, this is one of our team goals is to beat Loudonville. So it's going to be a great game, and I'm looking forward to Friday night.
And, you know, everybody wants to be 3-0 when you get into the conference schedule, but the WCAL, always a tough conference. Smithville, the Smithies are 2-0 right now. They got Lucas next week, correct, Brian? Yeah. You got Norwayne, always a powerhouse. Dalton as well. talk to us about a little bit more about the WCAL. I mean, Brian and I know about the conference, but not a lot of our viewers do. Just how stacked of a conference is this, and how much does that benefit you guys? Because when you get into playoffs, you're playing these teams already, and you know what it takes.
Yeah, according to people across the state, the WCL is one of the best
Adam Thompson
leagues
He's telling
in the state of Ohio, and it's a battle each week. And the same thing when you get into the WCL, like, it doesn't matter what the team's record are, they're going to bring it each week. And I think the thing that's most impressive about the WCL is just, I mean, the physicality throughout the year. And I know for us at Hillsdale, when they went to 16 playoff teams, it actually was something that we loved, because we feel if we can get through the league schedule, the WCL, and get into the playoffs, it doesn't matter who we play, we have a shot of beating them. So WCL, you just got to make sure that you show up every week and be prepared, because it's going to be physical, and if you don't, you're going to get knocked off. But it's a great league. I'm glad we're a part of it, and they made that change to that league back in the early 70s, and I think it's been great for our program.
It's an awesome league to keep an eye on, and I'm really interested to see where you guys end up fitting into the puzzle this year. Downton's been incredibly successful these last couple of campaigns, and Norwayne too. Looks like they got some dogs again, Coach, but I seen you with my own eyes against a Lucas squad that we think is going to be pretty competitive as the season rolls along.
Always competitive,
and
yeah.
You've just got weapons in your arsenal from top to bottom, so I'm going to guess by the end of this season, you might have to look back on this team, the 2024 team, and say that it might be one of the best overall units that you had in terms of overall athletes. That's if you all stay healthy, I'm thinking that's what you're trending towards here, Coach. So looking forward to see how it all plays out. You already beat Black River. Want to see how you do against Loudonville coming up here on Friday night. They got the new coach, of course, and there's a lot of buzz, I think, in and around that community right now about what Ed Honneberger can do to try to turn around that program. So we're super jacked that we get to cover you every single game this year. So thanks for putting that together for a second straight season for us, Trevor. We'll be seeing you at home on Friday in Dromesville, and just want to keep an eye, of course, because you guys, you're loaded with talent.
Yeah, thank you. And I know our community appreciates you guys covering us. I know I hear it about every week of how excited they are that if they can't be at the game, they can still watch it on their phone or their TV. So we appreciate you guys doing that again this year, and we're hoping to continue that on for years into the future.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, we love Falcons country, baby. So thanks for the time, Trevor. Get
Steelers
back on
defense.
That. Hey.
Steelers defense. Hey, the offense has question marks, but that defense is going to get you a couple touchdowns. So they get you some sacks too. So, hey, think about them as your number one or number two defense as well. I mean, got to give it to that.
All right, I'll take a look at it. I'll see if I got auto-picked any defenses, and if I didn't, I'll look into that.
I'm told we got a mute button for Travis next time he goes on a little tangent like that, Coach. So, hey, thanks for calling in, man, and best of luck with your team and also your fantasy football endeavors this year.
All right, sounds great. Have a good evening, guys.
You too, Coach.
I think one of the good guys in the game, and he gets super excited. I'm trying to think of when he even reached out to me. It was before summertime, talking about can we get all 10 games again this season, and it's like, well, if we can get through basketball season first, Coach, and then maybe some baseball and softball, and if you don't mind, maybe summertime, and then we'll see you in the fall. But the fact that him, the team, the community, they want to have these memories, because I think that's what we do better than maybe anybody in the state, is that you can go back, you can watch these games forever and ever and ever.
For free.
Pretty cool.
And also, I guess, might be able to break a little news right now, basketball. We'll be doing some basketball, too, because boys basketball coach reached out, said, hey, what's it going to take? Just like how Coach Cline did. Have us go out and do some basketball. Might be doing a volleyball match or two as well. We love it down there at Hillsdale, the new digs that they have. But one more stat for you before we move on. Hillsdale outscoring their opponents 56-0 in the first half.
Whoa. That's big.
Yeah, pretty big.
And their quarterback, a big reason for that. I think Cal Lewis may be up for some more awards this week. Let's go ahead and find out. We were at about 10 games, I think, during week 2 on Thursday and Friday night. So we reviewed our footage, and we chopped up the 10 best plays of the week. And we kind of leave it up to you guys to decide what was the best of the best. So without further ado, here they are, your top 10 plays.
It's your top 10 plays of the week, presented exclusively by Spherion Mid-Ohio. We've got Thursday Night Football at nominee number 1, where Kirtland's Jake Laverty was looking like Andy Dufresne escaping from Shawshank, chucking one defender to the turf before evading the Crestview rush and throwing across his body for a Hornets score. We're going to have to run this one back and show it to you in slow motion so that you can admire Laverty's pocket awareness. He's got the scrambling ability, and he's going to rifle a dot on the run to Nico Samick, leading the defending Division VI state champions to yet another impressive road victory. They've been amazing over these last 20 years. More Thursday Night Football action on the way at nominee 2. Colonel Crawford's Lucas Foy about to get loose behind the secondary on a 3rd and long 42-yard connection from his QB Peyton Baker. And check out the picture-perfect release from the Eagles junior signal caller. Holds the gooseneck as Foy outruns everybody in the Richmond Heights secondary into the zone. Let's head up to Norwalk now for nominee number 3. And it looks like Edison's running student body right, but Bryson Whitmer plays the reverse card like a competitive game of Uno, flipping the script and goes 18 yards scampering opposite of where the play is designed. Chargers felt like they could find a lane to the wide side of the field, but Whitmer, gonna pump the brakes here, and he's gonna find the traffic way less congested as he reroutes the play in for 6. It's a 2-0 start for the Galleon Tigers, who scored a road win over Cary on Friday, and this play was hugely important to their success. How about this diving grab by Tiger wideout Alan Carver? Monster 23-yard touchdown catch. Love the play design, a little eye candy, nice fake by Braxton Prosser, who puts the ball where only his receiver can get it. Travel to NIST Stadium now. Centerburg's in the red zone looking for an early lead, and Blaine Ball about to sneak a duck past security into Jackson Ballinger. 9-yard hookup to get the Trojans on the board. Pressure can burst pipes, but it can also form diamonds. Ball shining bright with this throw on the run at Ontario. Hillsdale looking to knock off Lucas at Bob Wine Field, and it may not look like Hayden McFadden is trying his hardest right here. Then the junior is about to hit the nitrous and is sizzling past everybody for a 15-yard touchdown blast to go up by a pair of scores. Nobody even lays a finger on McFadden as he eats up half the field on his way to pay dirt, looking like he knows how to find 5th gear while everybody else is stuck in 2nd. We're staying put right here in Lucas for nominee number 7, but Owen Sloan is doing anything but. Check out the combination of power and speed, breaking 3 tackles and then cruises 80 yards down the sideline to take command on the road. Hillsdale would claim a 26-8 victory for a nice 2-0 start, and certainly have found their featured back with Sloan, showing off all the tools right here with this ferocious TD run, tossing a couple of Cubs to the side, and then turning on the Jets to get into the zone. More action from Ontario at nominee 8, only this time it's the Warriors making the play, with Mason Van Tilburg dodging a full army of Trojans on his way to an 18-yard score with a full display of elusiveness, and even gonna lay some boom before breaking the plane in a Warriors victory. We've got love for the secondaries with our final 2 nominees, beginning at Chet Looney Stadium, where Jax Lester not only completes passes for East Knox, but he steals them from opposing quarterbacks as well. Great reflexes there to jump the route, and that would basically seal a Bulldogs victory with the takeaway. Jax Lester with a big-time takeaway right there. It's a Marion County rivalry game at our final nominee. Ridgedale taking on Elgin, who converts a trip drill into an INT to help put the game on ice. Gavin Rhodes comes away with the pick, and the Comets get the win in front of their home fans. Comment below now for your favorite play of the week. It's your top 10 plays of the week.
Those were your top 10 plays of the week is
Yes,
what I
they
meant
were.
to say there. And if you comment right now, guess what? We're gonna count for 2. We're gonna turn 2 right here on the OH report, even though it's football season. But we're about to do something brand new. Travis, looking forward to this. We
Bigger and better year for us. We got to get showing new things, right?
we got to change it up, and we feel like there's one conference in our area that's just got a ton of parity in a lot of sports right now. Maybe
Not the KMAC.
We'll tell you. Let's go ahead and roll it. So we're calling this the MOAC report. All of the latest details, information. We're going to have some stats, some info for you guys about boys soccer, girls soccer. Heck, we're going to talk about the bands, football, of course, and then we'll have volleyball sprinkled in there as well. So, Travis, this week I want to start with football. That's kind of been the theme so far early on in the show, and the MOAC, we've talked about it on the Pigskin, and we feel like this from top to bottom is the deepest league that we have here in our area.
Yep.
I think they got 3 teams that are still undefeated at this point.
That is correct.
2 teams still looking for their first win.
Correct.
And then there's a jumble in between of some teams that are 1-on-1 that you
3.
could see either going this way or maybe this way, depending on what the schedule shakes out to be. But a lot of good football in the MOAC.
Absolutely. And, yeah, Ontario, Shelby, both getting some good victories early on. You also have Galleon.
The most surprising team,
yes.
right? At 2-0?
Now, we knew Galleon was going to be a good team, but we didn't know if they would come out
And
those
beat
first
Carey?
2 games clean and beat Carey the way they did, 14-8. But, yeah, the Galleon Tigers, that's they're jumping out the same way they did last year. They were, 6-0 before going to Shelby and Ontario, 2 tough games. Made it to the playoffs, though, but they're right in the thick of things as well. Ontario got the athlete in Bogpin Miller. Shelby got the quarterback and Braden DeVito. I mean, just so many names up and down. Pleasant, a team that some people think might play a spoiler or be up there at the top. They're 1-1. Harding, 1-1 as well. Another team young, but they got a really good coach. They have a system in place right now that they think that they can start getting back up there, especially that they are a Division II team. Highland and Clear Fork. Highland, I mean, the Dane train.
Toot, toot.
Yeah, the Dwayne Twain, like
It's
I
left
said
town.
before. That's tough. And then Clear Fork still without a win. They've got a
They
tough
played 2
non-conference.
unbelievable beasts.
And then they get Lexington, who's 0-2, but played 2 really good teams.
Yes.
Coming into the corral on Friday night too. They could easily be 0-3. They can somehow get a win against Lexington, against their rivals. Maybe that starts putting them in the right direction. But yeah, a lot of parity. Any of these teams, I think, can pull off upsets at any given night. We saw that last year.
Take a look at some Week 2 scores. Granville at home against Clear Fork, 31-14. Colts in Week 1 against Perkins went on the road. I think they felt a little embarrassed by how they performed. Much more
Perkins,
competitive.
Very good, yeah.
Marion Harding gave up a ton of points against Ashland. They allow 53 in a loss where they go down by 24 points. Highland competes against Downton, so they're at least testing themselves, but they get beat by 22. We are showing the highlights there. Galleon moving to 2-0 with that win over Carey. Hopewell Loudon, a fantastic team. They're 2-0. They've beat the Blue Devils. Now they've beaten Pleasant 36-15. And River Valley, bounce back victory for them. A really tight, nail-biting loss against Ashland in Week 1. They beat Madison 35-14. Centerburg put up a decent fight against Ontario. Warriors are still undefeated at 2-0. And then Shelby, I think the defense has impressed a lot of folks with what they've done so far. 21-10, they beat Lexington, and they are your other team, still 2-0 right now in the league.
Yeah, Shelby, there were some question marks about the pieces around their quarterback, but the defense has really helped them out, lets them, those role players get comfortable, get into the system, and 2-0 for Shelby with a big one, taking on Bellevue, that rivalry for their final non-conference matchup of the season. River Valley, Ashland's got a D1 quarterback. I mean, he's shown out Bernhard as well this season, and that they're able to compete with that and then bounce back. They get a win this upcoming week when they take on Buckeye Valley. They're at Buckeye Valley, yes.
Yep.
They take on Buckeye Valley. They get a win there. 2-1 going into the conference schedule for River Valley. They'll make them look pretty good as well. And they could be another one of those teams like a Pleasant that could compete for those teams. But I'm just looking forward to see what Galleon can do. Go to Upper Sandusky. They're going to be favored, easily favored. Avoid the upset there. You're 3-0 going into Week 1 in the MOAC, and you're looking pretty.
Harding's going to be at Lima Senior. Whitehall at Pleasant. Ontario at Madison. So we could see multiple teams still being undefeated. If Shelby can take care of business against Bellevue, we could have 3 teams at 3-0 moving in to the conference portion of the season. All right, let's wrap up football now. And boys soccer, probably for the first time in program history, Travis, River Valley is sitting all alone as the top dogs right now. They stun Ontario, who was beyond Cloud9. They had not beat their rival in Lexington in a long time. It had been 11 matches. They take care of the purple and gold at their place. They beat them 3-0, and then they lay a bit of an egg. They lose to River Valley. However, the Vikings have been coming.
Yeah.
They've had a program that's been on the rise the last couple of years, finished second in the league last year, and right now, 2-0, the only 2-0 team.
Yeah, so River Valley at the end of the year, Clear Fork just needed to beat River Valley. They would split the MOAC with Ontario, but what does River Valley do at home? Knocked off Clear Fork. Ontario, like you said, that's your typical trap match. You knock off Lexington, big emotional win for the Warriors, and then you go to River Valley, again, a tough place to play, and now the Vikings, I mean, it's their chance now. Clear Fork, can they take revenge from last year and make it possibly a 3-way tie, depending on what they do against Ontario? But now River Valley, I mean, good for them. They've shown that they just need to take that one little step to finally get at the top, and so far they have, and just Clear Fork stands in their way of possibly an outright championship.
Colts are at Ontario tomorrow. That's obviously biggie. Later on in the week, River Valley is going to host Pleasant. We see Mansfield Senior coming to the Colt Corral also this week. So a couple big ones, some Richland County flavor over in the Valley this week. Could really determine, I think, what we're going to suspect to see from Clear Fork the rest of the season. It's been Ontario and Clear Fork since they've joined the MOAC, pretty much the top 2 dogs, and now all of a sudden these Vikings. So can they continue to row the ship in the right direction and get a bunch of wins? We'll look at the standings here and show you that they're the only team right now on top, just a 1 loss up to this point. And then how are we feeling about some of the other teams that are coming from out of Marion County? Pleasant, Harding, probably aren't going to be real strong by the end of the year. Galleon as well, they're still a newer program, and it takes a while to get that feeder system going. I don't anticipate that Highland's going to be in the mix by the end. So the real big question, Travis, that needs to be answered, are the Vikings for real, or will the Clear Forks of the world, will they have their way with them when they end up on the pitch?
It's tough. It's going to be a tough one, but I don't know if River Valley is going to do the same thing Clear Fork did going into that match last year. They're going to be going to the Corral.
Now they're prepared.
It's a big match, so be prepared, but they've already knocked off an Ontario squad. Then after beating Lex, some thought maybe them and Madison, the top of that district. And remember, for Clear Fork, too, Clear Fork dropped down a division. They're not facing any of these teams now up there. But for River Valley, just ride the momentum, keep winning your games. You talked about Marion Harding. River Valley beat them 8-4 in their opener before knocking off Ontario. So River Valley shows they can also score goals, and you're going to need that, especially in big games late in the season.
So boys soccer, we expect to be kind of a 3-pony race. Girls soccer, probably not going to be quite as competitive up near the top. And if history were to repeat itself like we've seen from the last 5 years in a row, we'll know exactly who the winner of the league is going to be on Wednesday. You can watch live and free. Ontario Lady Warriors will be coming over to the Colt Corral and putting their undefeated mark on the line against Mel Bluebaugh and a Lady Colt squad that's probably really hungry to come back out and perform at a high level after we saw them against Big Walnut on Saturday, and a big letdown for them, Travis.
Yeah.
How many times did they hit the post? Four. They just could not find the back of the net. Meanwhile, the opponent, they put together like 4 or 5 opportunities.
It was 3.
And
their goal and their 2 corners. That was it. There were 14 saves, 10 by the goalie, 4 by the post, 3 on the left post, 1 the crossbar that we showed a screenshot of that for about 6 or 7 times during the match, that it hit it dead on. If that's an inch or 2 lower, it's a tie match. But Clear Fork, it's been tough for them. These matches where they have taken control, the Madison match to open the season, and this one against Big Walnut, matches that if they can get wins, it helps them. Like the boys' side, they're down a division this year. So any of these victories against higher divisional squads, it just helps your seeding. And they controlled the match but did not get the win, one of those head scratchers, and they've done that twice. But hopefully it's something they can learn on to where when they get to tournament time, that doesn't happen. Right now they can escape it, but once you get to tournament time and that happens, you're done. That's it.
And they do drop down in division, so it's going to be a little bit different for the Lady Colts, just like the boys, when they do finally get into the postseason. A long way from there. Let's take a look at the standings now. You'll see that Clear Fork and Ontario, they are the teams to beat. Shelby, they've been coming. That's another newer program.
Squad, yeah.
So I think they're in like year 4 of being
right.
a full-time OHSAA program.
Like the OH report, fully OH report in year 4.
So Shelby could be that team that eventually starts getting into that mix, but it's been those two teams, Clear Fork and Ontario, year after year after year, and the Lady Warriors, I think, have won 7 consecutive championships. If they win on Wednesday on the road in the Valley, probably going to be 8.
But can they get over that bigger hurdle of a district championship? It's tough, especially, I mean, Larry Atkinson and his squad, all these coaches, Coach Bechtel at Clear Fork as well, schedule really, really tough non-conference opponents because the MOAC not there yet. That's not me trying to bash these other teams, but you have new teams, Galleon and Shelby coming up there, Harding, River Valley, Highland, teams that are known for their soccer teams, but they're just not quite to the play of some other conferences, so they have to schedule these tough non-conference out of conference schedules just so they can get prepared for a district tournament and possibly further. But is this the year for Larry to get back off the schneid, his squad, make it past a district level, maybe get to a regional? They're still going to see some other squads from around the area, but that's a bigger question as well after Wednesday that you got to be looking for.
Yeah, but Wednesday is the big one. Tune in 7 p.m. Clear Fork hosting Ontario, de facto MOAC championship. I think that's okay to say, even though it's only going to be September the 4th. That's how history has been so far. Lady Warriors, though, loaded with talent. Love what we see from Clear Fork as well. Just got to be able to find the back of the net. Lastly, we've got volleyball.
Absolutely.
And some great competition in there. I do feel like there's a lot more parity for this than perhaps any other sport, with the exception of football. So River Valley, Clear Fork seems like they're a little down right now. However, up at the top, I don't know that Highland and Shelby have really separated themselves to an elite status where you feel like they're that much better than Ontario, Pleasant. You can throw Galleon in there. They've had a successful program. So by the end of the season, even though when we show you these standings, you'll be like, oh, well, Highland's up near the top. Pleasant's just got the 1 loss, and then Shelby 2. I don't know that they are head and shoulders above of everybody. I think that this really is about 6 different teams can all interchange, knock each other off on any given night. And I'm throwing Olivia Davis's Harding squad in there too. They've just got some awesome athletes. So this is going to be a really fun league to keep an eye on. And we start finding out some things here in the next couple of weeks when these squads start playing each other. Highland and Shelby, I don't think they play until the end of the month for the first time. And their games aren't like back-to-back days. I feel like those are split up.
They played on the 29th.
They've already played. And then Highland beat Shelby.
Highland 26, 24, 25, 21, 25, 22.
And then they play again until the end of September.
Yes. And Highland, Galleon at Highland tomorrow.
Oh,
so that's another big one.
Biggie.
Now, Galleon, a couple of their losses, Monroeville. Coach Snook's squad firing on all cylinders.
Again.
They're undefeated right now. They're getting big wins over some teams. Also, Galleon, they beat Bellevue. Bellevue's always one of those good squads. They beat them in 5, 19-16 in the 5th set. So, yeah, there's multiple teams. Don't count out Pleasant either.
Oh, Pleasant's having a great start.
Pleasant, like you said, Harding, Highland, Highland's always a perennial power, but this year they might be a little bit back down towards the pack. I'm not saying down, but back down towards the pack because I think the MOAC is getting better top to bottom in the conference. Even Clear Fork and River Valley are more competitive this season than they have been in the past.
Let's check out the standings here in the MOAC for volleyball. And Highland, where they've been for many years, and since joining the MOAC, they've kind of had the run of play. Shelby's been right on the cusp, too, and has not been able to break through and get one of those champions because the likes of Gallion, Pleasant, the 6-1 record, only one loss, but that coming in the MOAC so far. So this is going to be an incredibly fun race as it starts to unwind here. By the end of September, I expect that we're still going to be in a position where there's about 4 or 5 teams that got a legitimate shot at making a case to be the champion.
Pleasant at Highland on August 22nd. Highland won 25-17, 25-13. Pleasant took the third set, 25-22 and 25-20. So another closely contested match there that you and I, we've called enough volleyball where it looks like, like a 25-17 score. It's 17-17 and one mistake just gets another side on the roll, or one ball it's just out, things like that. It's a game of inches, but it rolls a little bit harder on the volleyball side where one mistake turns into 3 or 4 points when in another sport it might not.
So that is your MOAC report here on the Always Report video podcast, and looking forward to keeping an eye on that league as it continues to unfold. Trav, let's get back to football now. If you don't mind, would you please introduce our top individual performances? Yeah.
We've had some great performances thus far this season in our first 2 weeks of the football season, and
of the football
season.
Yeah,
the football season. Fastest 10 weeks. Already 2 weeks gone by. It's crazy. But let's get to it. Our Friday Night Phenoms nominees, Week 2. Hit it.
We got a 6-pack of nominees for the Week 2 edition of our Friday Night Phenoms, brought to you by the fine folks over at Spherion Mid-Ohio. So let's get to work. Off to Contractors Stadium we go for nominee number 1, where Edison running back Luke Blacknick's play equaled the temperature out on the turf, scoldering as he torched the St. Paul Flyers for 3 scores, a 7-yard run, an untouched 66-yard romp, and got so open on a 45-yard receiving score that Brandon Fraser's character in the movie The Whale could have scored. Edison is 2-0, thanks to Luke Blacknick. To nominee number 2 now. Not often can a team go to the hills of Lucas, Ohio, and come out with a convincing victory, but Hayden McFadden and the Hillsdale Falcons did just that, as the senior wideout was out there looking like Noah Lyles, out racing the Cub defense for 4 catches for 122 yards, while also rushing for 50 with 2 total scores as the Falcons continue to roll early on. Now to Phe nominee number 3, where the defending Division 6 champs have the state on notice once again, and quarterback Jake Laverty is the main reason why, posting 247 yards of total offense under the Thursday night lights at Crestview. He only needed to throw the ball 4 times, completing 3, with 2 of them going for scores. He also used his legs for 3 more touchdowns, as the Hornets have scored a combined 97 points in their first 2 games. Nom Nom number 4 had the air horns going crazy down in Howard as East Knox Blake Elliott was running up and down Chet Looney Stadium on Friday to the tune of 208 yards on 28 carries, good enough for just under 7.5 yards per carry, along with the score as the Bulldogs bounced back from a tough Week 1 loss to defeat Winford. Nominee number 5 is 2 for 2 this year making the list. It's the athlete from Ontario, Bogpin Miller, needing some fourth quarter heroics to help the Warriors remain unbeaten and hold off a scrappy Centerburg squad. The Warriors signal caller threw all 3 of his touchdown passes in the final 12 minutes as they held off the Trojans 35-21 to remain unbeaten on the early season. Our final nominee comes from the Thursday night lights in North Robinson, as the Colonel Crawford wideout Lucas Foy needed only 3 catches to break 80 yards receiving while reaching pay dirt twice. He nearly was 3 for 3 into the end zone, but came up just short. But that didn't matter, as the Eagles soared for a second consecutive Thursday night, rolling Richmond Heights. There are your 6 nominees for the Week 2 Friday Night Phenom, brought to you by Spherion Mid-Ohio. Comment the number of the nominee in the comments section for your vote.
And as always, it's a double dip Monday. You get twice the votes here for the remainder of the podcast. But I'm going to throw it back over to Brian. We have our next guest coming from the Clee Bus.
How about a double dip of football talk? Because
who
this
doesn't
guy
like a double dip of football talk?
double dip of pretty much everything. I think is
Double
is
scoop of
worthwhile.
ice cream,
But that second one,
peanut butter.
yes, sir. Well, you already know.
Yeah.
This guy's been writing articles for us for the last several seasons for both
Very
the
good,
Ohio
too. Very
State
good writing.
football team as well as the Cleveland Browns, and he had a great one to put his expertise to use on Saturday afternoon in Columbus. Please welcome to the program for the first of many times here on the
Absolutely.
podcast for this season, Mr. Lucas Wickiser. What up, Luke?
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, I'm glad to be back.
Glad to have you back, buddy. And as a Kent State graduate, I got to imagine you took a lot of joy in that article you got to write about the Buckeyes on Saturday.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like Christmas every year with the brand new season and everything. And I don't even worry about the fans who are Ohio State didn't win by 60, or whatever. I mean, I'm glad they beat Akron, but I'm just happy.
You actually mentioned in your article something that I didn't know, that it's been over 100 years since Ohio State has lost to an in-state opponent.
Really?
I was actually kind of surprised to hear that nobody's
Like a
jumped
Cincinnati?
up like a Cincy or a Kent State or an Akron or an Ohio at any point, Luke. So where did you see that? And then are you surprised that the Buckeyes have been just rolling through the state for 100 years plus?
Just to tell you guys, I actually listened to that on the broadcast, and the last time Ohio State lost to an in-state opponent was 1921 against Oberlin, 7-6.
Oberlin,
And so it was like the slimmest of margins, and it was before Ohio State really got big because they won their first national title in 42. So 21, they were still kind of this little cow college. There was a lot more parity in Ohio, but now I'm not really surprised at all that Ohio State's owned the state. I mean, the closest chances they've had to lose to an Ohio team, I think, might have been Cincinnati back in 02 when the Buckeyes had a national championship run. But other than that, they pretty much run roughshod over everybody.
Well, nobody upgraded their roster via the transfer portal more than Ohio State. I think you could say in the entire country, Luke. So give me your thoughts on the new faces in Columbus that we were able to buy, for lack of a better term. And let's begin with Will Howard, the quarterback, because he came in from Kansas State, and there was a lot of talk about him. Well, is he even going to win the starting job? And I think he looked fantastic in the spring, and certainly I think kind of set a standard for us on Saturday. Your thoughts on him?
I know it's only week one. It was one game. I don't think he's ready to face like an Oregon, a Penn State, a Michigan, a Georgia, and Alabama. But like I said, it's only week one. But I really liked his decision making. He has a cannon for an arm. I know it was Akron, so let's keep things in perspective here. But Kyle McCord last year didn't have any of the tools that Howard now has, and so I'm really excited to see what he does. I don't usually like these cupcake games, but maybe for an offensive system like ours and a player like Will Howard, maybe they need that to get up to speed. But I really like what Will Howard brings to the table in terms of decision making, arm strength, and he's built like a brick house. He's like a cross between Josh Allen and Big Ben. He's 6'4", 235, so he's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a monster, man. And in the running game, Trey Henderson's been that dude for us, of course. And now we get Quinshon Judkins, who comes in from Ole Miss. That 1-2 punch, and we saw both of them kind of equal shares in the offense from the limited time that I got to watch in the game. Just how do you feel like so far, just one game, he's been implemented into the offense? And do you feel like maybe he has an uptick in terms of his role after we start getting, a few weeks under our belt?
I think he could have an uptick in terms of his role, and I know it was Ohio State Akron, but I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a Kent State story here. When Kent State had one of their best seasons in 2012, they had a thunder and lightning combo with Trayon Durham and Dree Archer, and so I'm kind of thinking that if this works out the way it's supposed to, you'll have Henderson be the thunder and then Judkins be the lightning, or God forbid Henderson goes down again, at least you have some more depth at running back. Because Henderson's a fantastic running back, but he's always struggled with injuries. And, but Judkins, I think, could definitely be a nice depth pickup as well.
Welcome to college, Jeremiah Smith. What an unbelievable game for this dude. He was as advertised, a 5-star prospect coming out of Florida. Everybody was raving about this guy before he even got on campus. And one game, and now you see it. you're like, wow, he's just a little bit different and a true freshman at that. So he even, I saw in the pregame that he was with some family members and a couple of teammates, and he even called the spot where he was going to score his first Ohio State touchdown. And then later on in the game, he gets to throw over there in the corner of the end zone, and he scored in that exact location. This guy doesn't exactly seem human, Luke. What did you make of his performance? A couple of touchdowns, and every time they looked his way, good things were happening.
Well, first of all, that's news to me when you said he basically did the football version of calling his shot, you know. Basically 100%. Just pointed like, I'm going to score right there, and it's good to have that kind of confidence. I just hope he doesn't get too big of a head, too big of an ego. But as far as what he can bring to this offense, I mean, if he can get some chemistry going with Howard, he could be dangerous. I mean, you already have Ibuka, you have him, and then you have several other offensive weapons. You have the running backs, and then Howard looks like he could be the prototypical Ohio State quarterback, dual threat quarterback. But if Jeremiah Smith can settle in, man, he could be dangerous, you know. And I probably shouldn't have tabbed him as a Devin Smith 2.0 type in my article because it was Akron. You know, Akron is horrible. But no, man, I like the tools that I've seen from this kid. He can high point the ball. He is fast enough to outrun corners and sneak behind defenses. He seems like he's got it all. But again, he's a young kid. It was his first start. We'll see if he does the same thing against like a Penn State or an Oregon or a Michigan. If he does those things against those guys, look out.
Yeah, the wide receiver room is absolutely loaded again. Shout out Brian Hartline. I cannot believe how well he's been able to recruit into Columbus, but we got just a plethora and overload of talent. And I saw a lot of the same things on defense too. And again, I mean, you kind of said Akron, you dropped the H word. Maybe they're horrible this year. However, the Silver Bullets looking pretty good up front. We got some special dudes in the trenches. The linebackers, it's kind of a new group because we lost some guys, of course, to the league, and then were some seniors. We knew they were going to be special in the secondary, but from top to bottom, Luke, really impressive what we saw from the defense through 1 week.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, and I always look at these as, you know, I mean, this is Captain Obvious, so forgive me for this here, but it is a tune-up game, you know, and we had a few teams that struggled around the country with some of these games. I mean, you had Oregon struggle a little bit. You had Michigan struggle a little bit. Ohio State had a bit of a slow start, but, I mean, I don't think I was ever really worried. You know, and a big part of that was because of the pressure they put on Akron defensively. They forced, I think, 3 turnovers, which I forget who the announcer was that said it, but they basically said that turnovers, if you force them on defense, are contagious. So maybe these guys can develop a reputation as kind of a turnover-happy squad that can force a bunch of turnovers. But we'll see. I really liked what I saw this first week, and we'll see how they build on that.
Do want to throw a little bit of love to Akron, of
Shout
course.
out.
First off, taking on Columbus on the road, so you admire that. And then Garrison Smith,
yeah,
okay, a Norwalk graduate.
Yep.
Travis is always telling me the kickers are people
He's
too.
Darn right.
Bro, he didn't just make the most of his opportunity. He hit some bangers from deep.
Yeah, and he was actually at Ohio State to start his career. Transferred, now he's at Akron, but he kicked a 48 and a 49-yard field goal in front of 100,000-plus loud fans and in front of probably a lot of family. But shout out to Garrison Smith, who he won the NCO FCA kicking contest back when he was a Norwalk trucker, but shout out to the kicker.
Yeah, all 6 points for Akron belonging to his right foot.
So no, I agree with you, and you know, and I I'm not going to bash kickers because you know some of these fans might look at them directly and say, oh, they're just a kicker. They kick a football. How hard is that? But you got to figure out, you know, your leg stroke. You got to figure out what kind of angle you got to take. You got to make sure the laces are out, ball is down, perfect. Yeah, perfect kick and everything. So it's a process. So good for him. I'm glad he's succeeding at Akron.
Week 1 of the NFL's here, Lucas. This is always such a fun time because, especially in our division, it just feels like confidence is just permeating with the entire AFC North. There's a few question marks out there. However, it's highly anticipated this is going to be the best division in football. Again, everyone feels like they've got an opportunity to go out there and win the league. So for us, poor suffering Browns fans, we haven't seen that since Clinton was in office.
The Browns is the Browns, baby.
Bill Belichick was actually coaching then.
How did you let Bill Belichick go? Well, I mean,
they let the entire franchise go. It wasn't really Bill's fault. Okay, all right. Yeah. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. Just how are you feeling about our Browns here, Luke?
Well, first of all, I don't know if were you talking about the last time the Browns won the division? Because actually, I think the coach was Bud Carson back in the 80s. That's how long it's been since they've won the division.
Oh, I thought we snagged one like in those mid-90s. Could be wrong.
No, they have not won the division since 1989. It was the old AFC Central back in the day.
The Jaguars, the Houston.
There was no Jags yet.
Oilers.
Well, at the end, I had an old pennant that had them on. It was like the first year.
96.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're asking how I feel about the Browns this year. I'm trying to have a wait-and-see attitude, because we got a lot of injuries, at least on the offensive line to start off with. I mean, Wills is still hurt. He's still got a knee injury. And then Jack Conklin is supposed to possibly start at his spot, left tackle, which might not be a big problem. But when you basically have to shift over from right tackle to left tackle, you're basically having to completely figure out different footwork, mirror what you're used to doing. So I don't know how Conklin will do there or if he'll stay healthy. And then you got a new offensive line coach in Andy Dickerson, who hasn't been back in Cleveland since he was a defensive quality control assistant back in 2010. So there's some stuff going on that I think the Browns are going to have to handle first before they really get off and running. And plus the Cowboys are no slouch either. And Micah Parsons is going to be hungry to get a piece of Deshaun Watson.
Hey, Deshaun's managed to stay out of the news, though, during the offseason, with the exception of positive stories. Everything that I'm seeing, he's taken teammates out on some vacations. He was putting together some pitch and catch with some new receivers. Jerry Jeudy seems to really have gravitated to him early on so far, even though we haven't seen what he's going to become yet. But just your overall mood and your take on Deshaun, who has not played in a long time, and we haven't seen his best in quite a while. But when he was last out on the field, beating Baltimore at their place, perfect passing percentage there in that second half. What's your feeling about our quarterback, who we're putting a lot of eggs into the Deshaun Watson basket? And I saw that he signed that big bonus. That way we can open up potential salary cap space for some other guys. Just how you feeling about him this season versus the last couple?
Again, kind of a wait-and-see attitude. I know people went nuts when we signed him or traded for him back in the day. And I really wasn't in favor of the trade. But now that he's here, I support him until he gives me a reason not to. And as long as he's doing stuff to get himself ready and he's staying as healthy as he can, and trying to build the chemistry of the locker room. That's all you can ask for. And hopefully he's still got a good defense to back him up and to help him out here. But I'm cautiously optimistic. It's been a long time since he's been, through the roof, as far as talent, as it's been since 2020. I don't know if he'll ever hit those levels again. He may not have to, though. We have enough weapons. I think we could still do well enough even if he didn't hit his ceiling. But no, I'm cautiously optimistic with him. I'm wait and see with the Browns. I'm trying to keep my expectations and blood pressure down because Sunday's going to be interesting. I gotta be careful.
Also, you got to tamper those expectations until Nick Chubb gets back. First
Right.
4 weeks, you guys, versus the Cowboys, at the Jags, versus the Giants, at the Raiders. What is a successful first 4 weeks before hopefully getting Chubb back at the Commanders before facing a gauntlet of Eagles, Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, Saints, and then those Steelers twice in 3 weeks? But first 4 weeks, what is a win for the Browns without Nick Chubb?
Lucas, we got to go 4-0, baby. We got to do it.
Well, Brian, I'm hoping we go 4-0 as everyone else is, but I would say a success for them would be splitting. And I don't necessarily know beating who. Just as long as you win half of those games, you win 2 of the first 4, you set yourself up decently enough. If you're 3-1, I'll be ecstatic. I don't think we'll go 4-0. I'd love to see it.
Doable.
3-1 is doable for sure, but 2-2 bare minimum. Because I think if you go 1-3, or God forbid winless, which I don't think that'll happen, but if you go 1-3 and Chubb comes back, they haven't rushed him back, which is a smart thing to do. But when he does get back, you're going to expect him to be the man. And he's been the man in Cleveland since 2018. So being 1-3 going into these next big gauntlet might not be the best thing for them. So, yeah, if they're 500 going through the first 4 games, I'll be okay with that.
And not only that, it's just the schedule on the backside for all AFC North squads.
Brutal.
Commanders, Eagles, Bengals, Ravens, Chargers, Saints, Steelers twice, the Broncos, the Chiefs, the Dolphins again as well. I mean, we did not get a good draw this year when it came to scheduling.
The Browns on paper have the #1 hardest schedule in the NFL this season.
Was
That's
it
why
three,
I feel like
three of the
Lucas,
4 are AFC North?
because we got to all play against each other, everybody a winning record, of course, within that North. Cowboys are going to be a tough game. I think that the Jaguars are going to impress. They slipped a little bit last year, but they'll probably be a little bit better. Talent-wise, though, if we can't beat the Cowboys and then the Giants at home, certainly I think we go on the road and we take care of Las Vegas. It's got to be 4-0 to come out of the gates here for the Browns, and then you can feel really good about yourself, of course, going into the second half of the season. If not, if we got some turmoil early, I hate to say it, even with this awesome roster that we have, I could see some head scratching and some finger pointing, and I just hope that is not the case. So I'm beyond optimistic about the fact that we come out of the gates real hot, Luke. That's going to be my hot take, if you will. Is I think we do get it done early on in the season, then it becomes something a lot more productive and satisfying. Travis over here with a big grin. He's like, does he say this every year?
The Browns is the Browns until they say otherwise.
Yeah, no, I agree with Travis. I mean, you got to handle 1 week at a time, and I'm not going to get too overly hyped. And I know this is a broken record, guys, and it may or may not work out this year, but give me till Thanksgiving. Again, give me till Thanksgiving. It's a tough schedule. Let's go 1 week at a time. I think the Browns could win anywhere from, I'll go 8-9 at worst to 11-6 again if they really take off. So that's my spread right there. But no, just 1 week. Huh?
Yeah. Shout out Jimmy Haslam, or not Jimmy
Donovan.
Haslam, Jimmy Donovan. Well, shout out both. You know what?
Yeah.
I kind of like what Jimmy's kind of staying behind the scenes now. He wanted to be the AFC North version of Jerry Jones there at first. He's cut that out. So I do applaud that. He's not trying to be like P. Diddy, all up in the videos, taking the awards. It's working out.
So
we hope.
But no, I know you're talking about both Jimmys there, Brian, but I just want to give a shout out to Jim Donovan. That broke my heart to see that he's done. But
he is.
Some things are more important in football, and my prayers and condolences are with him and his family. Cancer sucks, man.
Cancer really sucks, dude. Yeah.
Cancer sucks. I mean, I was really hoping he'd get to call a Browns Super Bowl win sometime. But hopefully now he's at least around to see it when it does happen. And it will happen. Question is, will he be alive to see it? Will I be alive to see it? I don't know, but I really hope that he hangs in there and just continues fighting the good fight, because he's a tougher man than I'll ever be.
Luke, it's coming, buddy. It's coming in our lifetimes. Are you a fantasy football guy, or do you play?
Not really. Actually, I've been too busy playing college football 25. But no, my college buddies always tried to coax me into doing it when I was in my Kent State days, and I was trying to focus on homework, and they're like, "Luke, you'd be so good at it." And maybe I would. I've just never tried it out. They think I'd be great at it, but I've never played fantasy football.
Oh, never ever. So we were talking about, and now it's too late because we suck, but we were going to put together an OH Report League. So I'm going to put on the calendar. We're going to do it next year, where we're going to have one for 2025. But I've been in a league for 21 years. We took 1 year off because I was the commish at first, and then I didn't want to do it. And then my friend has picked up the pieces. He's ran it for the last 7 years. And Travis over here with his buddies, he's been going 2 decades strong in the same league.
Wow.
Well, I'm going on year 9, but this is it's the CZ Football League. My buddies have put it on for 20 years before ESPN and all that stuff, where they had to keep the stats and tally the points themselves. But this is a big week. This league had a waiting list to get into it.
What?
Big money league. Yeah, and I finally got into it 1 year. I was the sticker guy for a while. I was just calling the picks out just to be, hang around, be at the drafts. But now we're in it. You love this part. It's a touchdown-only league, as we always say. Kickers, and then just the position players, quarterbacks, 2-quarterback system, things like that. But we had our draft last night at the Hollywood Casino and Hotel in Washington, Pennsylvania. Had a suite, did everything like that. Great time. Mm-hmm. I still feel a little sick because I took David Njoku as my tight end. But he's gonna be one of those guys. They project him at 6 touchdowns. Is that a good number? Over under 6. What do you think he's getting, Brian?
I think that's a great number for any tight end. And I think maybe more than that, Luke. He's been coming on, man. He's a very beloved member of the
After getting
organization.
burned in that fire, he just took off.
Oh, man.
I mean,
yeah, he went up and smoked the rest of that year.
Yeah, he did.
Killed it.
But this is story time with Big League right now. So we do the draft and everything. We're like, hey, let's go to the casino. Let's saved up some money over the summer to do this. So went to the blackjack table. I'm playing $100. I'm I'm up 20, down 20. I'm playing for an hour and a half.
Yep.
Me, my two buddies, and then another guy that's trying to, that one guy at the table always that tells you should hit, you should not, and all that stuff, and it goes the opposite way. That guy was at the table, so we just stopped listening to him. Finally go on a little bit of a heater, right? And these two guys sit down. One guy in a Penn State polo. I'm thinking this is not going to go well. Ooh. 20 minutes later, gone. A couple times, if you know the game of blackjack, I had 10. Double down because they were showing like a 4 or 5, which is what you do. End up getting 21 because the Penn State dude just kept hitting and taking the small cards, things like that. It was very annoying. Very annoying.
He just kept winning like his college football team.
Penn State ruined 2 of my days.
Sorry about
this
that,
past
Travis.
weekend. But it's a very cool league. My friends, we have trophies for it. First, second, and third. We even have a last place trophy. A couple years ago on the podcast, they showed the picture of me in the last place pink. I stink at fantasy football with the poop emoji. We all remember that picture. Have not worn that since in the last 2 years, so I'm working my way up. Kirk Cousins, quarterback number 1 for me. Anthony Richardson, I got in the first round too from Indianapolis. That might be my keeper going forward if he can stay healthy. Yeah, I'm positive with my team this year. How about you? You had a draft last night too.
Yeah, I'm not going to bore people with who I took, but I always load up with Browns. I also took Njoku. I got Chubb. After people were taking defense and kickers, and Nick Chubb was still on the board. Only a 10-team league. I was stunned. He's going to be a monster in the second half of the year. So there's the group, the West Virginia boys.
My buddy Eric right there with the pink shirt and the new trophy. Yeah, I suck at fantasy football. Brian King, our friend, won the championship, and then he came in. He came in and gave us little presents. We have participation ribbons, and they came with a little beverage that we took in midway through the draft. Tasted like rubbing alcohol. Was not fun, but hey, you have a good time. Do you have a group of friends that you're still close with from your early days, 20s, 30s?
The only fantasy football league I'm in is with 8 of the 10 are kids that graduated with me from high school, and then the other 2 are just people that live in my hometown who I don't know who they are, but I trash talk them anyways.
Yeah,
because that's what you do in fantasy football.
So most of them are back in West Virginia. I'm out here. This is our way of every year trying to get together. We get together at least once or twice a year, hang out, things like that. We have a trash talk Facebook messaging group that we talk all the time. Gotcha. It's a cool way. It's a cool way to keep your friend group together, especially once everybody's getting married, having kids, things like that. It's a way to stay together.
Now, did they have showers at this hotel? Because I noticed you're in the same fit. Nothing's changed.
I have the same. Yeah, I changed shirt. I took a shower before I came here to work today. I don't know what you're not.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Just making sure you're staying at nice places.
It was a suite. I mean, better have a shower. What we paid for it, but it was good. Good times. Ready to get back to work though. Busy week coming up.
That's right. Yeah, we got plenty coming up. Shout out. I saw one of our commenters said that he liked the shirt. This is one of only 500 in the whole galaxy.
Yeah,
this is
took
a pretty
2
cool
or 3
one.
from I don't care about the Pirates anymore. They suck. But you took 2 or 3 from the Buckeyes. I had had a friend was up at the game yesterday enjoying it. But beautiful day for baseball yesterday. Had a perfect game going through 7 innings.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
And then we scored 1 run. I'm sorry. That would have been fun to see.
Nah.
Well,
we just want
Guardians
wins
still
right
in
now.
first place, too.
Hey, Guards have won 4 or 5.
Yeah.
It looked like the sky was falling. Everybody was like puking in our own mouths, thinking that we were going to pee on our own legs, and they're starting to right the ship a little bit right now, Lucas. So it could be. I think if the Guards can keep doing what they're doing and stay on their winning, successful ways, that's got to transfer over a little bit up by the lake to their brethren over at the Dog Pound. I just think that these two teams have been supporting each other a lot, and good things will come if the Guards keep winning.
I just hope we get to cover another World Series like we did in 16. That was met LeBron James, Al
Brian.
Roker,
That one in 16, Brian. That still hurts.
Stupid rain delay. Rain delay.
Not over it yet.
Probably
never will be.
If the rain delay hadn't happened, we'd have won 2 championships in 1 year.
Yeah,
man,
we
probably never would have stopped. Then Johnny Manziel probably would have took us to a Super Bowl. Would have just kept going.
Browns is the Browns, bud.
Well, Luke, hey, great talking to you, man. And I always love reading your articles because we're doing something cool, I think. And I always say this, but you have a professional way of writing it, but it's from the fans' perspective. So everybody that I've ever talked to that's like, hey, I really enjoy the written words that are coming out about these games on your guys' site. You're doing an awesome job of how you collect your thoughts. You take a little time, you put them on paper, and looking forward to keeping up all season with the Buckeyes and the Browns over on the Clee Bus, sir.
And real quick 30-second answer. Thoughts on your Cary Blue Devils?
Young, inexperienced, and still prone to dumb mistakes. I love them, but if they didn't make some of those mistakes they've made in the last couple of weeks with penalties, they'd be 2-0 right now. It's frustrating.
Still two really good teams they played, and they competed. That's got to be something positive to look at with them.
Yeah. Yep. And they've been outweighed, I think, by 20 pounds on average on both offensive and defensive lines, and they lost 17 seniors from last year. So I was really nervous going into the first couple of games, but they've been competitive. It's just like they're right there. It's like they get to the 50-yard line or 40-yard line on a good drive, and a holding penalty just kills them. It's happened several times in the last 2 weeks, and unfortunately they've fallen into a hole.
In Mershman, we trust.
Indeed. They'll bounce back,
sir.
buddy. Probably be competing for
Yes,
an N10 championship when it's all said and done again.
I hope so.
Well, good seeing you, Luke. I'll be in touch, buddy. Looking forward to going 1-0 on Sunday, and good times are ahead.
Yeah, thanks always for having me on, guys. It's always a blast with you guys, and this is like the highlight of my Mondays, man. Seriously, it's a lot of fun.
It's our pleasure, buddy. Come on whenever you want.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's the highlight of our Monday too, Luke. Lucas Wickiser, the writer of all of our articles on the Clee Bus. Check him out. Go to oh.report right now and see what he had to say about those Buckeyes.
Right now.
I love it, man. Yeah, he just his style is he does a nice job. Like, he bullets things, and he'll talk about specific, like Will Howard, for example, got like his own little section. Then he'll talk about the defense where it's bulleted, and you're like, okay,
Professional,
he doesn't normally use like quotes from coaches or players or anything. It's more from like a you and I perspective. You're watching the game, and he puts together his thoughts, and I think he does a spectacular job.
Extremely relatable.
That Kent State degree is paying off, buddy.
Yeah.
Him and Jardy.
We know a lot of people from Kent State, don't we?
It's pretty cool. Well, I was told not to go longer than an hour, Travis, and I think
That's
we've
why
got an hour 10.
I heard snickering in the background, so I kept my story a little bit shorter than it should have been. But hey, it's dinner time.
It is dinner time. Yeah,
it's dinner time.
We're gonna get home. What am I getting for dinner tonight? Oh, I was gonna get steak. Now it's probably going to be Taco Bell or something. Not as good. Well, good luck to you, sir, winning that fantasy football trophy this year. There's only one trophy that matters to me, and that, of course, is my 2010 U10 Girls Lady Fire trophy that I support for Zudo here.
Shout out Mad Dog.
Shout out Mad Dog. All right, shout out to all you guys for watching. Big week coming up here on the OH Reports, so just keep it locked in. Don't ever turn us off. When you open your Facebook or your Instagram or whatever, your YouTubes, if you're here, you're informed. Till next time.